All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's operator meeting. I'll be your host, Jenny Lehman. We will take all questions at the end of all presentations. So when you have those, just chat those in and I'll read them off as they come in towards the end. First up, we have Arthur Kepsel with an update to a question that was asked at last September's operator meeting. Go ahead, Arthur.
Second, let me share my screen. Did it share? Looked like it. Can everybody, Jenny, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Arthur Kepsel, and I want to revise a question that we had from last month's meeting on September 12th. And the question was, can you define downhole chemicals and provide examples of drilling fluids, production chemicals, such as scale inhibitors? What all is included in downhole chemicals? And the answer we gave was the definitions out of the legislation itself. And then we went back and reread the legislative intent of for House Bill 22-1348. We'd like to revise the answer to the following. Based on a review of the legislative intent of HB 22-1348, the ECMC is going to narrowly focus on chemical products that are used in hydraulic fracturing to roll out the Form 4646A process. Reported chemical products should include the base fluids and additives that make up hydraulic fracturing fluids. And for the intent of implementing the legislation, production operations will refer to downhole operations, beginning with the completion process. And I think that's it. That's all I had for you today.
Awesome. Thank you, Arthur. Next up, we have an annual Braden Head test reminder from Diane McCoy. Diane, go right ahead.
All right, thanks. Morning, my name is Diane McCoy. I'm an engineering supervisor here. I have just a couple of reminders this morning. Rule 419 requires an annual Braden Head test for all wells. As we approach the end of the year, please audit your program to ensure each well has had a test and had the results of that Braden Head test submitted to ECMC. For the bulk upload, the test results are due by the 15th of the month following the month in which the test was performed. And for Form 17s, those are due within 10 days of the test. When submitting the Form 17, it's helpful if you provide a comment or two as to the reason of the test or any observations you saw during the test. It can be something as simple as, in the comment of annual test or rig release test, or just providing any comments about what you saw during the test. And I'll just go ahead and go into my second reminder. I think I'm also on the agenda for the next one. My second reminder is to make sure we're using the correct well status. This is particularly related to the status of DG, and that's for drilling only. And so this is to be used only when actively drilling. If the rig has moved off and the well was not drilled to depth, SO or suspended operations is the correct well status to report. If the well was drilled and constructed to depth but it's not been completed yet, then WO or waiting on completion would be the correct status to report. If you have been reporting DG longer than appropriate, go ahead and audit your program and submit corrected Form 7 so we can get the correct well status on all wells. Also kind of related to that, if drilling is suspended prior to reaching total depth and does not recommence within 90 days, the operator will need to submit a Form 5P drilling completion report just to document all what was done for that well. And there was a presentation on this topic last year at the November operator meeting, and those slides in that presentation on our website. And so if you want some slides to look at rather than just a reminder to make sure we're getting it correctly reported, that's on our website from last year's operator meeting. And that's all I had this morning.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Diane. Next up, we have a presentation on WQCD Construction Stormwater General Permit Renewal Process by Al Stafford. We're having a little trouble hearing you, Al.
How about now? Is that better?
Yes, we can hear you.
Ah, excellent. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and try and share my screen here. Everybody see that all right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Al Stafford. I'm with the Water Quality Control Division. Some familiar names and faces out there. Good to see folks who I've seen in the field or seen over on the Western Slope Task Force. I'm here today to talk about the renewal of the construction general permit. So this is the construction stormwater permit through WQCD. And we go ahead and go through here. So what I'm going to go through today, I want to give a little bit of an estimated general timeline for where we're at in the renewal process, and kind of where we're going. Talk about the public notice period, which is where we're at right now, and what you can do to submit comments and how you can find that draft permit. So we'll talk about that. I really want to discuss the renewing of certifications. So the renewal applications are now open in CEOS. And I want to make sure everyone knows to go ahead and renew any certifications that you have under this permit. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll touch on new certifications that might be coming in between now and when the permit is renewed in April. And then we'll talk just briefly on, what are the renewal goals, and how can you find out more about the changes that were proposed in the draft permit. And then I'll give you some resources and some contacts as well. So first of all, estimated general timeline. Obviously, this is subject to change, especially if we get a lot of comments during the public notice period. It's also subject to change, if there's any legal arguments or anything like that come along with the permit. So first of all, the current permit, so the COR 400,000 expires on March 31st of 2024. And what you might be familiar with in past permit renewals is that what we've done before is the permit went to what's called administrative continued status. So the permit continues to function the same way that it functions when it's effective. It has reached that expiration date. And this year, the division was tasked with an on-time effective date and not letting those permits go to admin continued status, specifically the COR 400,000. So when we bring that general permit into when we renew the general permit, we also have to renew all of the certifications that come underneath. So that's why I want to make sure we talk about that today as well. So where are we a little bit in our general timeline? So first of all, we had some pre-public notice stakeholder meetings back in the end of July, beginning of August. Thanks to folks who were able to join us for those. We discussed then some of the potential changes, really tried to get some feedback on what do you think about this? What if we made this change? Would this add clarity? Would it not? And got a lot of really great feedback from a lot of stakeholders. We took that back and added it into and modified our draft permit that we were working on based on that feedback. And now we were in the public notice of the draft permit. So the draft permit went to public notice on September 14th. So we're about halfway through now. And it'll end, the public notice period will end on November 14th. So during that time is when you can submit comments, and we'll talk about that some more too. We're also going to be holding a public notice meeting. That's going to be on November 2nd in the afternoon. We just sent a notification yesterday. So if you're on the stakeholder list and soon the permittee contact list will be getting this email as well, if it hasn't gone out already. So we're just announcing that meeting. I'll show you at the end here how to get to the page where you can register for that as well if you didn't receive that email. We're planning on issuing the permit at the end of January. So basically between that middle of November and the end of January is when we'll take all of the public comments that we've received. We'll edit that permit, incorporate as many of the comments as we can, and also answer all of those comments. So we do respond to each and every comment, and that comes along in the fact sheet that'll be issued with the permit. So permit issuance end of February for a permit effective date of April 1st. So kind of between end of January and April 1st is when we'll renew all those certifications. There's currently over 6,500 permit certifications under the construction general permit, which is a huge leap even from just like 6 months ago. It was 6,200. So it just keeps going up and up. And then also I want to let everyone know we will be doing compliance trainings. So how to comply with the renewed permit. Just any changes that you might need to make to your stormwater management plan. And then as far as changes in the field, as you'll see toward the end of this presentation, there's nothing changing as far as how you manage stormwater. But we do want to offer those compliance trainings as far as just so that everyone knows here are the things that are different in the new permit. So the public notice period, which is where we're at right now, like I said, that started on September 14th and it runs until November 14th. So the draft permit and the fact sheet are available, and I'll show you at the end. I'll give you the website for how to get to those. We've got a great engagement website that's got all the information you need on it. So I'll get that to you in the chat at the end here. So the draft permit and fact sheet are available to read. We do really welcome as many, comments on any and all portions of the draft permit or fact sheet. And like I said, we will address all of those comments. So we really do welcome, either individual or group comments to be submitted. What we are asking this go around, and we've been doing this the last few general permits and other permits for renewals, is we have a permit comment form, and you'll be able to find that on our website as well. And that permit comment form is just kind of a Word document that's a table that makes it really much easier for us to compile all the comments together. And so you'll go ahead and put your comments into that table and then send that Word document to Randy Johnson Hufford. And I'll give you her email address. It'll be well, you'll all get this presentation, so you'll be able to see her email address there too. So all comment forms can be emailed to Randy. And then during this public notice period, kind of toward the end, we're also conducting a public notice meeting, like I was saying. So that'll be on November 2nd from 3 to 5. Like I said, the email went out yesterday. Might be another email going out to the second round of permittees today. We are asking folks to please register. It's via Zoom. So in order to get that Zoom link, you'll have to register. And that registration is on the engagement website as well. We'll be focusing on clarifying the changes. So, just going back over kind of similar to the pre-public notice meeting if you were there, but obviously with the updated information of here are the changes that occur, that occurred in the renewal. And then we also will address any questions on the COS application process. We'll have somebody there from our permits admin team who will be able to address those comments specifically and those questions. And then if you do need any language or accessibility assistance in that, please go ahead and shoot me an email. We can definitely provide interpretation or other accessibility needs as well. So as far as renewing certifications go, hopefully some of you folks are already in the process of this, and thanks to those who helped us out to test the system as well. I really appreciate that. First of all, anyone who hasn't gone in and claimed or associated their facilities in COS, that really needs to be done. We still have about 900 permits or certifications that have not been associated in COS with a responsible official. So we do have a list on the website of any permits that are remaining that have not been associated. This is going to need to occur for you to be able to submit a renewal application. So you won't be able to submit a renewal application unless the facility is associated with you as a responsible official. And then step 2 is where we're at now, hopefully, for most folks have claimed or associated the facilities. And so now we're in the application phase. So renewal applications are due by January 2nd. Little tip, I suggest getting them done before the holiday. And in fact, the sooner the better. It really will help our division out the more that we get on the front end to be able to process these renewal applications and make sure everything continues to go smoothly. So they all have to be done in COS, like I said. So the facility has to be associated with the responsible official. And a preparer can do the majority of filling out the application, but the responsible official, both the owner and the operator, need to sign those applications. So unlike last time when we grandfathered in anyone who was written under the COR 03, where they didn't need an owner signature, that's no longer the case. Because of the way that COS works, an owner and an operator are required for this particular permit renewal. And like I said, the sooner the better, but they are due by January 2nd. And then step 3 is what happens if we don't submit a renewal application. Well, unfortunately, given just the mass volume that we have of this permit, those will be terminated. We're just going to have to terminate anyone who doesn't submit a renewal application. If permit coverage is still needed after that termination date, so after April 1st, then the owner and the operator will need to submit a completely new application for a completely new permit. And if unfortunately, if there turns out to be a number of folks with no permit coverage, the division can pursue enforcement for unauthorized stormwater discharges from construction activities. So definitely want to make sure you submit those renewal applications, get those in so that the compliance team doesn't need to come knocking on the door. Let's see, I think that's all I need to say on that. So how about if we have brand new applications, which I realize, in oil and gas, it probably isn't so much the case. Most of y'all have kind of old rolling permits. But if you have a new certification that needs to be processed, we're going to take any new applications under the current permit, so the permit that's effective right now, through the end of February of 2024. So if you have to submit a new application, we'll take those all the way through the end of February. We're still trying to figure out though if you'll have to submit a renewal application as well. There'll probably be a cutoff date at some point where you won't have to submit a renewal application and an application. As of right now, you do need to submit, if you applied today for a permit, you'd have to submit an application and then submit a renewal application just to keep our system rolling. It's not the easiest thing, but it's how the CO system works. However, starting March 1st and through the month of March, we won't be processing any new applications. So no new certifications under the COR 400,000 will be issued in March of 2024. So we're really encouraging folks plan ahead. If you know you're going to be starting a new site in March of 2024, apply in February or earlier. Get that permit earlier so that you have coverage during the month of March. Like I said, we've got over 6,500 certifications. We've got to issue all of those during that month. So we're not able to double up and take on new ones as well. So yeah, plan ahead, spread the word. This is kind of new information. We haven't really gotten this out too much yet. We did send it in the email that went out just yesterday. But definitely know that we will not be processing applications during the month of March. If you submit an application during the month of March, you'll get a new permit under the new permit starting in April. So that's how those will work. So just really briefly, kind of renewal goals. Why do we renew it, and what's our goals for it? Well, the stakeholder process goals, as you probably picked up throughout this presentation, an on-time effective date. So we want that April 1st effective date. We're also really making sure that we're hearing all the perspectives. We want as much stakeholder input as possible, and we're going to incorporate as much as we can. We want this permit to work for you. This permit doesn't work if it's not applicable in the field, if it doesn't make sense in the field. And you all are the ones who are out in the field. You're the ones who see this day to day. So we want that feedback. We want to know what's working, what's not working. And then also our stakeholder process goal is to receive all those renewal applications. We realize that's a high bar of a goal, but we really want to get as many as we can so that we're not having to do work on the back end of following folks who don't have permits who need them. And then as far as the draft changes, the goals for those are pretty simple. One is to help increase compliance, right? How do we make sure that we're really managing stormwater well and that the permit represents that? And then also to increase clarity to some of those permit requirements. We realized some parts of the permit, last time that it was renewed, just aren't very clear, don't really say exactly what's required. And so we increased as much clarity as we could in that permit. So as far as some resources and contacts, first of all, I want to give you all this engagement webpage. On this page, you will be able to find all of the resources that I talked about. Let's see, chat. There we go. So here is our engagement webpage. Definitely check it out. There's information on there on the certification applications. There's information on, there's a list of the unassociated facilities. Down on the bottom is how to get involved, and there's meeting information and materials. That'll get you to the registration for the November 2nd meeting. There's also a tab there on public comment and how to submit public comments. So all of that information is on that website there. And then I also want to leave you with some contact information. So any questions on the stakeholder process itself, feel free to reach out to me. If you're specifically asking questions on applications, terminations, things like that in CEOS, go ahead and reach out to our permits unit via their helpline. They're really going to be your best bet there. I unfortunately don't have a back end of CEOS, so I can't see what's been submitted or what's not working. So best to just reach out to them specifically. And then questions on the permit itself, changes on the permit, things like that, submitting comments also, that's all going to go to Randy. So there's her contact information on the end there. And that is all that I have got.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Al. We do have a quick update from Greg Duranolu on the Form 7 produced water data report. Greg, you can go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Jenny, and my apologies to folks for not getting this item on the agenda. But I wanted to go ahead and share an update on the produced water data report based on some of the information that I have received from operators. First and foremost, thank you to those operators who have been compiling the data and putting it into the template, submitting those spreadsheets to me via email. Really appreciate that data. I did have a chance to go through some of that. And so some of what I'm going to present is based on just sort of a first glance look at some of that data with some tips and tricks for your next submittal. First, just an update on the development and testing of the Form 7 modifications. So our developers are still working on the process. We've identified some issues that have hung up the development and made it a little bit more challenging. Some of you noted that the Form 7 tab for the produced water was active but not functioning in the enterprise, in the web form enterprise. So we're working through some issues with that. The testing, both internal and external, will be going on here very soon. So those of you who volunteered to be testers, we appreciate that, and again expect to hear from us very soon about that testing process. In the meantime, until the form is up and running, if you're submitting your monthly production data reports or monthly reports of operation, please go ahead and continue to email your produced water data to me at my email address, and I'll continue to compile those. I do believe that we'll be able to, upon completion of the form development, have you go in and just submit a Form 7 with only the produced water data, and that will get that automatically uploaded into our database. So moving on to some tips and notes from the early submittals that we've gotten. first and foremost, please don't format or add columns to the spreadsheet template. It needs to be submitted as is in order to properly populate into our database. For the disposal locations, we've seen some of the initial forms use different types of facility IDs, including the well facility ID, not to be confused with the API number, and the UIC facility ID. Our preference is to use the location ID. Each row in the data, there was an instruction that I've given that said you don't need to duplicate information as you go down for a given well, and that was a little bit misleading. Columns A through K need to be populated for every well, as do columns, or for every row, as do columns S through V. The data that we don't need duplicated is the produced water data, columns M through R. I'll show some examples of this in a minute. And then for wells with no produced water reported on the Form 7 and no fresh water or recycled or reused water used downhole, then no produced water data report is necessary. So you don't need to add a row for the wells that don't have produced water or water used data. Now, I believe that operators who have submitted have basically just copied the well list from the production report, populated it into the produced water data report, and then entered zeros for those. I am talking with our database folks to see if that's going to be acceptable, to have those zeros entered, or if it's going to have better data integrity if we simply don't have the wells reported. So, and then last, if there are multiple wells, like multiple disposal wells that water could have gone to, but it only went to one, we only want one row reported. We don't want to have the additional sort of potential disposal location reported if it wasn't used for that month. So just to show some examples or some examples of what I just mentioned. So here is a UIC disposal facility with 2 wells. One of them is shut in. What we really want to see is the location ID number for the disposal location, not the facility IDs for either the wells or the UIC facility ID. We just want to see the location ID is the best disposal location facility. So here's some examples of what I was talking about with the rows. So here are rows not filled out on columns A through M. And below, you'll see that we have those filled out every single time, even if it's the same well ID being reported in 2 rows, because in this case, they reported disposal to 2 different locations. So for a single well, I tried to pull out identifying information so that this could be kind of generic operator stuff, but recognize that someone could sleuth this out. The other thing in this example, there is this well here, the second well on this report is listed with 0 produced water for disposal, 0 reused, 0 recycled. We don't need a report for that well at all. So that's the one where we'd rather just skip right to the next well on the list. So hopefully that makes it clear that we need to see all of the operator information and well information in the columns A through M. It's just we don't need, this 133 reported multiple times if there was also water reported in the offsite reuse and recycling. So hopefully that clarifies prior statements. Another example, again, this is wells that had no produced water, no fresh water used, no produced water used, no produced water sent for disposal or for reuse or recycling. So we can simplify that report and just report the wells that have water that was managed. So that's all I've got for now. I wanted to get these up quickly based on what we've seen from the initial submittals. Again, keep sending those in. Really appreciate it. And that's all I've got. Thanks, Jenny.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. That is now it for presentations. So we'll go and answer questions in the chat. First question, are there any updates or timelines on getting web forms and the ECMC website working more consistently and with less errors?
I will try to answer that question, Jenny. Hi, this is Chris Eisinger, and I oversee the information and database systems. So first of all, we are very much working on it and conscious of the fact there's been issues since we made updates to our database system last month. In fact, they've just been amplified. I guess they've been ongoing for a while, but have gotten really bad the last month. We have made some changes recently over the last week that we think should improve stability and decrease the number of times people have errors when they're working with our system. We're making another change this Thursday, which we also hope will improve the system. Yeah, please be patient with us. As I use the metaphor many times, we are, fixing the plane as we fly it. And so it's challenging trying to get everything to work smoothly. Just one other comment after Greg's presentation on produced water, I just wanted to let folks know that the Form 7, we did have that produced water tab visible in our production environment. As of this morning, I believe that is no longer there, and that was done intentionally. As we test it, those people we've asked to test will have access and it will be visible to them to work with. But until we release it for everyone to use, that tab should remain invisible for the next week or two. So just so you know, if you don't see it anymore, that was done on purpose. Thanks, Jenny.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Next question. Are there any updates to financial assurance due for non-federal wells in light of BLM revising their bonding rules?
I'll take that one. We are in conversations with representatives from those operators who are affected by the federal well financial assurance exemption. And hopefully we'll have more to report in the next few days to a week or so.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Scott. Next question. Can staff give any update on the new HPH layer accepted by the commission in the last week's hearing and its effective date?
Hi, Jenny. This is Sabrina. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I don't have a definitive answer to that. The estimate will be approximately December 1st. It's related to the Administrative Procedures Act. So the new maps will go into effect 20 days after they're in the Colorado Register. So we'll be filing the maps with the Secretary of State approximately October 25th, which means that the earliest they'll go into effect is sometime around December 1st. We do intend to have a presentation on those maps and the release of those maps at our November operator meeting, which will be before those maps go into effect. So I appreciate the question. Stay tuned. There's a little bit of administrative behind the scenes processing that has to happen before those maps will go into effect. For now, keep using the current HPH maps, not the new HPH maps. And again, we'll have a presentation with all the information on that at the November operator meeting.
Great, awesome. Thank you, Sabrina. Next question. With Deb Bracy gone, who should we reach out to on Form 9s that are in process?
So we do have new employees beginning next Monday who will begin to focus on Form 9s. In the meantime, if you feel like you have something that needs urgent attention, you'll need to direct it to me.
Thank you, Scott. This next question, will our slides be available in the meeting archive? Yes, they will. We will have those posted on the website by the end of the week for sure, but as soon as possible after the meeting. And then next question, any updates on the Form 3C and its release?
Yes, we should have the 3C available, I think, by the end of next week. It is just being finalized right now. And in the meantime, for anyone needing to request release of a financial assurance instrument, please reach out to the financial assurance staff, specifically Debbie Lutz is the person you would want to talk to.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Next question. Relatedly regarding financial assurance, will you be providing guidance regarding substantially equivalent federal financial assurance under Rule 702A? If so, do you have an estimated release date?
The answer is there's been no conversation about substantially equivalent assurance at this point. And like I said, we're in conversations and we hope to have a plan within the next week or so.
Awesome. Thank you. That looks to be the last question. If anybody has one that they need to chat that in really quick. Otherwise, here are the dates for the next operator meeting. And then, so the next one will be November 14th. And then here is my email, just in case you guys need to be added to the operator email list or have any other questions. Otherwise, I think that is all for today. Thank you everyone for coming, and we'll see you at next month's operator meeting.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.